Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a weird show for y'all. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. So the big news this week is coming out of ESPN after the news that Molly Qerim is no longer going to be with the network beyond this September, and it seemed to be an abrupt decision. At least that's the way it came off. We even produced a show yesterday where we said that Molly even said on her story when she posted about it on Instagram, she said that she was essentially saying that the story was leaked and it wasn't her intention for the story to come out. Now, here are a few things that I knew were going to happen. I knew obviously people were going to react to it, but I knew the first person that would react to this story, or the person that couldn't wait to get his fingers on it, was Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, I knew, was salivating to talk about it because it's content. Don't get it twisted. The same way y'all be like content creators probably watching this show, the same way you're like, man, the story just came out. It's the same way Stephen A. Smith be feeling the same way too, right? So throughout yesterday, I even saw that he had made some comments about it on First Take. I didn't watch, so I didn't see his comments there. But apparently later on in the day, he did a show about it, which I didn't watch. So this morning, I was going through the internet here, and I came across this article with the headline saying, Stephen A. Smith's bizarre leverage rant raises question after Molly Qerim departure. Let me just read a little bit of it. It says, Molly Qerim's sudden departure from ESPN on Monday night came as a surprise to many. That included Stephen A. Smith, who addressed his longtime co-host departure during Tuesday's episode on SiriusXM. And then he said a few things that I don't want to get into. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's get into what Stephen A. Smith actually said, right? I want you guys to listen to what he said. I want you guys to listen to all of it because a lot of people are like, bro, what's going on with these comments here? Take a listen to what he had to say there.
But in the end, she made her decision, and we have to move on as a show. I don't like it. I'm not happy about it because I appreciate her and what she has meant to me, what she has meant to the show, what she has meant to the network, what she's meant to the business. And I'm going to miss her. It's just that simple. But we all make decisions that we deem to be in our best interest for whatever reason. And that story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course I do. Am I going to share it with you? No. Because again, that's her story to tell. But I do think it's important that I started off the show by just acknowledging my love and appreciation for her and what she's meant to me and what she's meant to the show. Because over the years, over the last decade or so, the things that we've accomplished, she was right there. And we could talk about me being the star of my daily television show. We could talk about the contributors that have been stars as well. We can even talk about me doing this show right now. You know, it's a hell of a lot easier to have a second job when the first job is made so easy because you're working with somebody that makes it easy for you. And that's what she did for me personally. And so because of that, I just wanted to wish her the best, let her know the love is always here from myself, from my personal assistant and my right hand, Sumatra, to my security, Juvie, and my sister Carmen, and so many people that have loved her and loved on her over the years. We've got nothing but love for her. Having said that, I want to move on to a broader subject in regards to this. And this part is not about Molly. This part is about this industry because I know there's a lot of people that look at sports and, you think you can do this every day. News for you. You can't wake up and be Mad Dog Russo. You can't wake up and be Adam Shine. You can't wake up and be Stephen A. It takes work. It's not just about what you know. It's about what you know about your audience and how to deliver a product to an audience that they're receptive to and they want to embrace and they want to magnetize themselves to moving forward. We're looking at an age with podcasting, folks with their own YouTube channel, everybody aspiring to be their own boss and make their own decisions. But in the end, we all have people to answer to. And I know this subject is piggybacking off of what has transpired with Molly's abrupt resignation per se. But it is important to point out that guess what? It doesn't have to be about her. But when you have negotiations and you're talking with people and you're going back and forth and you're hearing things that you may not want to hear or feeling things you may not want to feel, even though you're valued, even though people acknowledge those kind of things, we live in a world where we have to grow up. And again, I'm not talking about Molly here, but I'm watching, and I've been watching over the last several years, people in this business fall by the wayside because we forget that all of us ultimately answer to people. We don't get to define our own value. We don't get to define our own worth. We don't get to sit there and summarily say, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And guess what? I don't give a damn what anybody say unless you have the leverage to do it. Because business is all about leverage. And I'm going to take this opportunity talking to this audience, giving you some insight into who I am and how did I think and how I think to make sure you understand where I come from. When you heard me at a time when we were discussing my contract negotiations all over the media and all throughout the sports world, what I talked about was what my worth was based on what the numbers showed. I talked about these are the ratings. This is the revenue. And I talked about, like I wrote in my book, Straight Shooter, a memoir of second chances and first takes, which was a New York Times bestseller, by the way. I said in the book, I wake up with two things every morning. Two thoughts of mine, prevalent most in my mind. How do I make my bosses more money? How do I get some of it? I'm going to repeat that. How do I get my bosses more money? How do I get some of it? Why do I say that? Because every one of us answer to somebody. For those of you out there with a YouTube channel, guess what? YouTube can flag your stuff and limit what you can disseminate to the masses. Over the airways of SiriusXM Radio, I have a beautiful deal with this company. I am incredibly happy. It doesn't escape me that Scott Greenstein is my boss. I work at ESPN. I'm incredibly happy with how I have been treated. Dave Roberts is my boss. Burt Magnus is my boss. Mike McQuaid is my boss. Jimmy Pitaro is my boss. Bob Iger is my boss. This notion that everybody gets to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it, feeling whatever way they want to feel. When you got your hand out for other people's money, it doesn't work that way. And again, I'm not talking about Molly with all of this. Molly's a separate category. But the reason why I piggybacked off the topic of her to get into a more generalized discussion is because I'm seeing people in this business and beyond falling by the wayside and departing from places they don't need to depart from because their excellence at what they do is prevalent and relevant and flagrant. And they should be here. But it can all evaporate in a snap if you lose perspective. And you forget that everybody, and I mean everybody, answers to somebody. There's a beast that has to be fed. And along the way, sometimes it calls for you to make sacrifices you may not otherwise want to make. And what changed my life for the better, that made me a better professional, that made me a better man, was when I woke up and realized my primary objective in the world of business, in the capitalistic society that we live in, is to make somebody money and to be able to get some of it. Because nobody gets to take it all for themselves. Even the bosses have to surrender resources and assets to people that are under them to make sure everything flows efficiently and fluidly. That's the world we're living in. And you know, when you make moves, when I sat up there and I talked about what my worth was, it's because I knew I had leverage. Because I had other opportunities. You don't say stuff like that when you don't.
So you heard what Stephen A. Smith had to say there. What are my thoughts about this? I think Stephen A. Smith, first of all, used this situation to once again make it about himself. He then started speaking about people that think it's easy to come into sports media. That you started talking about you have to understand that all of us are beholden to somebody we all have bosses. Even if you have a YouTube channel, you have to answer to YouTube. If you say things that the platform doesn't agree with, or if you break some of their rules, they could stifle your views or limit your reach. He then spoke about the fact that he had bosses. He has bosses at ESPN. Then he went on to talk about the fact that, the goal is every day to make his bosses money. He started listing all of them by name. And then some of us are sitting here saying, okay, so you're meant to be reacting to what happened to Molly, but then you're bringing this up. Why is this on your mind as it pertains to Molly? And he kept on reiterating, this is not about Molly. This is not about Molly. And it's like, it certainly doesn't seem like you're making it about her. It seems like you're trying to get at a larger issue that maybe she was related to, because the way his comments came off, I'm not saying this is what he said, I'm saying this is the way it sounded. It seemed like it had to do with contract negotiations and something about leverage. That's what it seemed to do. Now, I woke up this morning and I saw a report. I forgot what Instagram page sent it to me. Was it Yahoo Sports? I think maybe it might have been Yahoo Sports, where they said Stephen A. Smith is earning right now around $40 million per annum with his ESPN deal, his new Sirius XM radio deal, which I think is worth $36 million. And then with his YouTube revenue and whatever, they said he's making around $40 million per annum. I don't know if that's the number, but it was just bizarre. His comments, they were bizarre, because it's like, are you saying that the network, or rather Molly, received an offer that she didn't like and therefore she turned it down? Is that what you're alluding to? Because you're saying it's not about Molly. Then if it's not about Molly, why are you talking about this particular issue about contracts and what your value is and leverage? You spoke about the fact that you were able to negotiate with ESPN a better deal because you had leverage. Why are you bringing up all of these things as it pertains to Molly? And if it's not about Molly, who are you talking about? What is the genesis? What's anchoring these thoughts that you're giving us? So it was just really, really strange. Just bizarre. And a lot of people out there just like, Stephen A. Smith, what's going on here? Was all of what you just said necessary? Couldn't it have been enough to say thank you for everything that you did and all that what you did say at the beginning of the sound, and then just leave it at that? Why did you now need to go into all? Because all it's going to do is lead people to begin to speculate, well, why did Molly leave? Why did she leave? Was it over contract disputes? What was it for? And then you talking about this, and then you kept on saying it's not about Molly, it's not about Molly. The whole thing just seemed weird. From beginning to end. This is just my thoughts on it. You guys can let me know what you think about it in the comment section. We catch you on the next show. Peace.